Nikola Jokic dominates the All-Star game for like the 45 seconds he plays. Did Jokic maybe increase a friendship that could lead to a team up later? Plus,
I can't believe you.
Oh boy, the Lakers. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and we're available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, one of the co-hosts of Locked On NBA, and the Nuggets insider for 104.3 The Fan in Denver. He is Adam Mares. He's director of content for DMVR, the DMVR.com. You can check out his work over there, fresh off his vacation. Took a couple days off. Glad to have Adam back with us. On today's show, we'll talk about All-Star Weekend. And despite Adam being on vacation, I'll ask him to fill me in because I didn't watch most of it. And then we'll talk about a little bit of Luka Doncic. We'll just talk about a little bit of Luka Doncic for no apparent reason.
This is like our most hot takey episode we've had.
It's gonna be fun.
It's not even hot takey. It's just this is what the universe gave us this weekend. They gave us hot takey type topics.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. And then we will also talk about the NBA 75, and we'll talk about the LeBron situation in Los Angeles because Nuggets fans are always, I think, happy to hear about how things are not going well over there in La La Land. All right, let's start right off the top. Nikola Jokic in the All-Star game had himself a great weekend, got the well-earned rest, seemed like he was having a really good time. He didn't seem unhappy. Adam, what were your impressions of All-Star weekend from afar for Nikola Jokic?
For Jokic, I actually thought it was good. You know, if you think about sort of the progression he's had now in his 4 All-Star appearances from like his first year, it was almost like just being there. Where do I fit in? Whatever, kind of playing the role of the goofball. To this one where, although I know everybody's going to focus on the fact that he only played 21 minutes, that he didn't close in the fourth quarter and all of this, that, but I still felt like he was one of the storylines. Like if you started going down the list of like who stood out at the game, he was maybe 6th or 7th, which is probably the highest he's finished in that category in all of his All-Star appearances. It was a great game. The 75th anniversary stuff to me was just so cool. And that was really where my focus was. But for Jokic, you know, the game itself, I thought he did well and it was interesting. He even had his moment with Embiid kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I didn't watch a second. I didn't watch a single second of that game, and I will not apologize for it. We should ban the All-Star game, or we should have it at the beginning. Here, I do want to throw this at you.
Matt hates fun.
I do hate fun. I have established that. I have not hid from that. That is definitely my platform. I have an idea though. We announced the All-Stars over All-Star weekend. We still have like a fun weekend. We can do like the dunk contest, maybe like a 3-on-3 thing. I like the Rising Stars change. That was cool. Yeah. We do all this, and then like you have like an All-Star game in like August, like before the start of the season. Just move it then, so that we don't have like the, and especially I think it's weird because you have this game where nobody is supposed to try, but they're also tired. So they're tired and don't want to try. I appreciate Giannis's comments about how he can't turn it off. I love that about him. And I think with Jokic, it might kind of be the same, where I just like, I don't know that Jokic is like, I don't think he's like, so I think he can have fun, but I think he's like, what is the point here? I don't know. What do you make of, I'll ask you, what do you make of the minutes thing? What do you make of it?
I don't really make anything of it. Like, I'm honestly, there's nothing to be made of this game. Here's what I will say. Everybody is always in awe of the final, like few minutes of it. Guys are actually kind of trying, but they're not actually trying. Like even in this game, both teams wanted to win, but neither team was actually defending. Like the defenses weren't on a string, these rotations on point or what have you. Like, so when people are like Nick Wright today, I know everybody's up in arms. You guys have to understand, Nick Wright is really smart. He's really smart because he has made his corner Nikola Jokic is overrated. And the standard for that is Nikola Jokic is going to have to win a championship to prove him wrong. And here's the thing. Denver hasn't done that in 55 years. Like, he hitched a wagon to a very safe bet that is like, if the Nuggets win, it's actually going to be heroic, like so unfathomable. And by the way, if that happens, I promise you can wiggle out of it and be like, well, it was Murray, or it was a bad matchup, or it was an injury. Like, he has a foolproof plan to never actually have to be wrong.
Yeah. I'll say this. I like Nick a lot. I've known Nick since Kansas City. He used to be a guy from Kansas City. So I'm sure that will endear him to all of you. He used to be a radio host in Kansas City. And I actually
makes a lot more
Nick
sense.
Nick was at the forefront of talking about, and this isn't like the same thing. Like, you can have like the right social attitudes and then still be a terrible sports person. That's entirely possible. But like, he was on the forefront of talking about police violence against Black communities, like back in Kansas City. Like, it was a thing, and racial inequality. And so I have a lot of respect for Nick. I'm going to try. I don't think it'll work. I'm going to try and get him on. I want to talk, because like, I'll say this. If Joker wins the title, I do believe Nick will be like, I was wrong. Nick is one of the few guys of that genre, of that ilk, that I think is a little bit beyond it. But you are right, that is a very safe niche to hit, right? Like, you're going to have to win a title to prove it to a team that hasn't won it in 55 years.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you, because it's really just a master of sophistry. Like, he is the type where the media actually takes the lead on the actual performance. Because do you really think that Nick Wright feels that the All-Star game is like, this is where I can make my point? Of course, there's nothing genuine about that. He just knows this plays into the shtick. I've got an angle, I can take it, and I can get some traction. And guess what? He's right. He became the story today. Like, Nick Wright, I don't know if this was for everybody, but I saw him and his conversation about Nikola Jokic. I saw that more than I saw any other conversation on the All-Star game today. So like, he won. He got everybody's blood boiling, and it was completely unearnest. But I don't really want to spend too much more time on it, because I don't care. Jokic doesn't care. Jokic had some very I just tweeted out what I thought was a great interview he did. I didn't see it until today. His interview that he did with the TNT crew, including Chris Haynes, that he was asked, what is the next evolution for you in your game? And his answer was, I think it's mental. And he actually talked about not getting, letting the officials or different things affect his mood or his attitude. And that's certainly part of it. But before that, he talked about, he didn't use the word leadership. He said leading, being better leader, talking more. And to me, that it's the best possible answer he could have given. We've talked about this a lot. How does he get better? I do think it's that aspect of it, becoming a better leader, which, by the way, is not just a desire. It's also a skill you have to learn. It's like as hard as learning a jumper. But I love the answer, because it showed a level of awareness that I think is very important for him.
Robert Rodart says, make the All-Star game harness racing. I enjoyed that comment.
Jokic would win every single year.
If you guys want to join, by the way, the chat, you guys should absolutely check out the YouTube page, subscribe, sign up, hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and get the notifications turned on, and join us for our nightly chats here on Locked On Nuggets. Let's take a break. I want to come back, and I want to talk about the Luka stuff, and we'll talk about the NBA 75 as well. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, oh yes, it's that time. It is certainly that time. Adam, I don't know if you know this, but as the night progressed tonight on Monday evening, the temperature went from a balmy 47 degrees to something below the depths of hell. I talked about the midwinter, the seasons. This is the last week of midwinter. And so of course, we're getting kicked in the nuts in the temperature department. But I'm going to get through it, because you know what's going to keep me warm? Tasty, delicious, protein-packed Built Bar. That's right. Built Bar is going to get us through. And it's going to get us through with the Puffs. They're the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. They've got some incredible flavors like churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie.
Churro back? Are we back? Is it churro season? I gotta order another box if churros are back.
Absolutely. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, the Puffs included 100% real chocolate. And most Built Bars contain just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs to go with 17 grams of protein. You got mint brownie, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate, cookies, and cream. Oh, yes. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. They'll be delicious, and they'll be good for you. Check it out at Built.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making Locked On Nuggets your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and it's available on all platforms. Back here with Adam Mares talking about the All-Star game. And you know what the recurring theme of the weekend was, Adam, when it comes to Nikola Jokic? It was the buddy film with him and Dallas Mavericks star Luka Doncic. They had some playful banter at the podium. They were hanging out all weekend. They talked about their friendships.
Mm-hmm.
So, am I really going to do this? Okay, hang on. I got to get my Nick Wright face on. So, I am simply asking the question, could Luka Doncic force his way out of Dallas to join the Denver Nuggets?
Of course he could. I don't know. Like, I think the more important thing here is you're talking about it. Jokic, here's what I will say that relevant.
You want to make this into like a relevant, like thoughtful conversation about
where do you
international all-stars and the bond that they feel and experience. And I just want to throw out Luka to Denver 2023. That's
Luka to Denver 2023. It's all happening. It's all coming together here. I don't look, man. I don't know. The one thing I will say though, Jokic went his first year, and I remember thinking, like, who's he going to talk to? Like, what's he going to be like there? And he had a good time, he says, but you could tell he was an outsider. I think the second year is where him and Russell Westbrook hit it off. Last year, him and Giannis, developed a friendship, and this year, him and Luka. And I think this is part of the thing is Giannis, Luka, Jokic, those guys seem to have a real bond with each other as this sort of like anti-establishment. And of course, it's because they're all Europeans, so they're all on the outside. But here they are, 3 of the 6 or 7 best players in the NBA, and they formed a little bond. And to me, I think it's just a cool thing. Could a Giannis or a Luka or a Jokic try to team up with each other somewhere in some different city? I honestly think it is a possibility. But I think it is more of a possibility when these guys get to be around each other and like each other. For the record, I'm not rooting for it. I like guys to stay with the teams. Like, I'm not rooting for Dallas to be left in shambles, or Milwaukee. But I do think it's cool that they have this friendship, and I do think it's cool that it seems to be growing year by year.
It's funny that you and I are doing this whole bit here, this conversation, because I think if you ask both of us what's more likely, Luka Doncic joins Nikola Jokic in Denver or Nikola Jokic leaves the Nuggets for the Bulls, I think we both probably say the Bulls.
The Bulls.
Yeah, like that.
I will say, I think Jokic leaving just seems so... I would be so shocked. I mean, not that it won't happen, but I just would be so shocked by it. And that even includes, I thought you were going to say Luka would come to Denver or Jokic would go to Dallas. And I honestly think it's just more Luka would go to Denver just because I just don't think it's in Jokic's personality to leave. I really don't.
Yeah. Look, let me actually say how this goes. Luka's going to be a Laker. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm 100% serious. Like, I'm 100% serious.
Like, what I thought was going to be a worst case scenario, and somehow you're like, no, there's actually I think Jokic will join Luka on the Lakers.
That's the meme of call an ambulance, but not for me.
Not for me. You somehow change it to the worst possible thing.
Hurricane T-Bag says Denver is a very European city.
It is. No, Gallinari has actually said this exact thing. He says Denver feels very much like a European city, and I honestly think there's something to it. Like,
yeah. I actually, I am with you. I don't want to see Luka. I don't want to see Luka leave. I think it's like everybody should have their own kind of kingdom. I think that's how it should be. Everybody should have their own kingdom. And
I just don't want to turn into the Lakers fans that are like, oh, we're gonna get this guy and this guy. Like, I just don't want to do that. If it happens,
don't do the jersey. Don't do the jersey photo. Somebody already I did see somebody sent me a Luka in a Nuggets jersey. That
I saw a Jokic in a Dallas one. Like, everybody's already doing this thing. I also think it's just kind of lame. Like, it's like the lame way of roster building where it's like, can you imagine Giannis, Luka, and Jokic together? Like, I can. They would win 80 games, and it's kind of lame.
Okay, Hurricane, I just want to say that I see your comment. I cannot share it. I'm not sharing it on the podcast or on YouTube, but I just want to say that I recognize. I see you. You are seen, and that comment is appreciated. If you want to catch these type of comments, you're going to have to go and check out the YouTube page. Oh, thank you for that, Hurricane. Yeah, no, I think it's the Giannis thing. I think is also very fun. It is kind of cool. Look, I don't want to. I'm already fighting enough battles where I'm going to have to cape for Jokic in this MVP thing because I think he's the rightful candidate. And it's just going to be a bunch of, well, you're from Denver. And I'm going to have to be like, but I think it's cool the way that Giannis and Jokic in particular are different from their peers. And I think it's cool, honestly, that
I do too.
Like, one of the reasons I don't think that Jokic was in the game at the end of that All-Star game is because I've said this before. He's not in the club. And I don't mean the music club. I mean, like, the little group. He's not in the, the clique, right?
But
There's
this is what I mean about Giannis and Luka and Jokic now is they are good enough as a trio of players, not as on a team, but just in the NBA, that them having their own little blockade is like, it's growing. They're one player short. They get one more guy, and now all of a sudden it's like, we are as powerful as you guys are. Like now we have a big enough voting contingency on the way things go.
I'll say this. That's what's interesting about Luka to me, is that Luka in a attitude and life, like Luka is definitely like an NBA star. Like he carries himself like an NBA star in a way that Jokic and Giannis, I think that they've like they spend their money on the fashion now, but other than that, right, and the cars, but like Luka's of both worlds, really. Like he's in that world of like the international guys that enjoy like that kind of like lifestyle and that approach to the game, and then he's definitely in like the superstars club.
Yeah, and
so like his ability to kind of slide between the two, I think is kind of interesting.
Here's a cool question I like that is coming in from Alex Epstein. He says, would Giannis pick Jokic first if he was the captain? I think we might get an answer to this before long because Giannis, I think, will be a captain of one of these games.
The answer is no, because he'll always pick his teammates first.
But the way it works is you vote on starter. First, you pick from starters, and I don't think Drew or Middleton are going to be starters.
Good point. That's fair. Yeah, good point.
I think he would pick Jokic first. I kind of do.
He might. He definitely might. He would definitely want to spend more time with him, right? You'd rather hang out with him than.
Yeah. And if Luka, there's also a chance that Luka is the captain or Jokic, one of these guys. But if Luka was the captain, I wonder if he would take Jokic as well. So you might. I'm rooting for it. Next year, I hope one of Giannis, Jokic, or Luka is a captain so that we could see if we end up getting those three like picked together first.
Do you want to take a break? Do you want to talk NBA 75?
NBA 75, I just thought it was cool. It was cool to see everybody together. It's cool to see Michael Jordan is still like, it's funny, man. You have all these legends there, and Jordan is still the legend of legends. Like he's in his own tier in terms of just charisma, just general, like when he's there, all eyes are on him. I love him and Allen Iverson have this star power thing where and Kobe obviously had this as well, but where every other player, when they come by, turns into little children, like that their idol just arrived. And I thought everybody was clamoring for MJ's attention this weekend or during that game.
I also thought it was funny that he went to Daytona.
Of course he did.
Before, like he was there all day and then flew out just for like the ceremony, which I think is.
And he was 100%. At least tipsy by the time he arrived to this event.
100%.
I think is hilarious.
I did see a photo circulating on Reddit because there was a big thing with KG and Pierce and them ignoring Ray Allen while LeBron was like saying hi to him. Apparently, they took a photo together, Pierce and Allen and KG. I thought that was kind of cool that they were able.
Oh wow, I did not see that.
I'm gonna put that on Twitter. I thought that was cool. And then, I have this question for you. Will Nikola Jokic, you're going to say yes. Nikola Jokic will be in the NBA 100. Like, he just will. Like, you have 25 extra slots, and I'm hopeful that by that time that we'll look back and go like, wait, Anthony Davis was in the 7. Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Jokic needs to be, I'm 95% confident he will be. I mean, like if he retired today, he belongs ahead of Carmelo Anthony. I'm sorry, just as a player, like to me, there's no question that Jokic, what he's done in his even just 7 seasons now, still is better than like 20 or 30 players that are on that 75 list. I understand why he wasn't on this last one. Like I listened to a bunch of the voters, and they all said he'll be there. It just was too soon. We didn't want to do anybody that is not at least halfway through their careers. So I get it. Like, well, yeah, he might be halfway through his career. Who knows? But I just mean like Jokic, by the time this was voted on, which was last year, probably had just barely entered one season of his prime. So I get why you would say, let's just wait and see what happens. But by the time it's all said and done, he'll be there, no question. I think Jokic is going to be a top 20 player all time. So of course I think he'll be a top 100 player all time.
Man, that's crazy to think about.
George Karl says top 10. So George Karl, even more bullish than I am.
Well, it'll be for on George's list. It'll be 10 Jokic, 11 Andre Miller. So,
by the way, shouts to George Karl, nominated for the Hall of Fame. Needs to get in. He got snubbed for the top 15 coaches. It's funny, if you go to the winningest coaches of all time, he's sixth, and the top 12 made the list. Something like that. So they really just skipped over. We took number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. You're like, man, poor George. But I think he'll get into the Hall, and I know that's a big deal to him.
Yeah, that'll be great for him. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about some stuff out a little west of Denver. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I need to tell you about BetOnline. Football might be over. Sigh. But basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Not just basketball, BetOnline.net's your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for making this part of your day, making us your first listen each and every day. Make sure to make your second listen Locked On Bets. With your boy Q and expert analysis from Lee Sterling, Locked On Bets gives you the best gambling update daily. Check it out wherever you get podcasts. Adam, I started writing about basketball in 2007. So I started the year after LeBron's first finals run. I watched his games in high school when I was in college. I watched his rookie season as much as I could. I used to go to a college bar and drink the cheapest thing possible just so I could watch LeBron James games. I started writing and have covered. I started my NBA career the week of the decision. That was the first week that I've had a full-time NBA writing job. Quite a week that was, when we did not have a blog platform over at CBS Sports yet. So I've seen all that, and a lot of it for me is interesting in that you can cover him day to day and have I think that's the closest you're going to get is guys like Jason Lloyd, who had a great interview with him this weekend. Dave McMenamin, obviously. Brian Windhorst had his turn with him. The guys for Heat Beat had him down in Miami. You could do all this day to day. I do think that you gain something from if you worked as somebody like I did in aggregation, in that I got to see all of these quotes. And my job wasn't just to be LeBron said this, LeBron's averaging X points. I wrote about what it meant in the context and was able to be okay, earlier he said this and then this, and this has been his position on whatever. And it wasn't just about one thing. It's every topic, because no matter what LeBron says, it's important. And that's why this weekend was funny, is that it was so by the book. That's why Brian Windhorst felt empowered to write about it. It's why Mark Stein wrote about it on Monday. LeBron was not subtle this weekend in throwing his entire basketball organization, or at least the shadow one, or not. What's the opposite of the shadow? The puppet.
The real one. Yeah. That's what's so funny about it.
The puppet basketball organization under the bus. And blaming them. He says Sam Presti should be the MVP of the Thunder, and about how many great guys Sam Presti has identified through the years. He talked about last week, talked about Les Snead with the Rams, my kind of guy who traded all his draft picks for star power. He made comments to Jason Lloyd about coming back to Cleveland and that he's going to finish his career with Bronny. It is startling because the picture that's being painted is basically he is no longer happy as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers.
I mean, of course, how could you be happy? He's back in 9th place. His team is in shambles. What's interesting about this weekend, LeBron to me, and it's funny to contrast him, and this weekend you have all of those greats there, including obviously Michael Jordan. But what's interesting about how this week has unfolded with those comments taking center stage in many ways for the weekend is you start to get all these stories. And I hear that, okay, Clutch, who was able to really manipulate Cleveland in ways that they tried in Miami. This all formed with the Miami and Miami has some strong leaders there that pushed back. We talked about Eric Spoelstra not getting fired when maybe they wanted. We talked about some of the moves maybe they wanted not happening. You go to Cleveland, kind of get your whatever you want. And they had success. It earned them a championship. You get to the Lakers and you hear that Clutch has had a hard time sort of completely influencing the organization. Obviously they have influence, but completely influencing them. And then you look at the Lakers organization that has had fallouts with major icons, including Jerry West. They've had fallouts with him. And you look at this and you think, this is the Lakers and LeBron, I think, are headed for an ugly split. I don't think the Genie Bus is going to be afraid to cut LeBron out prematurely from his Lakers tenure, even if it gets ugly. Yeah. And I don't think that LeBron is worried about ruining his Lakers reputation to get to a situation that might win him one more championship. So I think that are headed for an ugly breakup.
So that's what was funny about today. All right, so you have the report from David Meneman after the deadline refuting Rob Pelinka's public statement that he consulted with LeBron and AD. Okay, that's shot one. You have LeBron's comments over the weekend. That's shot two.
Yeah.
And you have Brian Windhorst's article, which he would not have written if he did not have reason to believe it. Then there's the counter response. Mark Stein's column on Monday in his newsletter, which you should all subscribe to, the Hall of Famer, Mark Stein. Mark talks in there about how he doesn't think like LeBron may not win this battle, that Rob Pelinka has the back of Genie Bus, and then there's considered I just have to take a second and acknowledge this, Adam, a 4-pronged power structure of Genie Bus, Rob Pelinka, and I quote,
I know this
power couple, Kurt and Linda Rambis.
Oh, I love it. The brain trust.
The brain trust. And the signal I took from that is that they are like sending a shot of like, hey, back off.
Yep.
Like, this is our team, which I really don't understand why they think that. Like, it's like that's you wouldn't get this reference, but it's a scene in Dark Knight where Bane puts his hand on the guy's shoulder and is like, do you feel in charge? That's how I feel about this entire dynamic. The reason I wanted to bring this up, and everyone's like, why are you guys talking about LeBron?
Yeah.
Like, why are you guys talking about LeBron?
No, it's pertinent. It's very pertinent.
No, it's not just pertinent, Adam. I got to ask you, look, MPJ and a pick for LeBron.
Wow, I didn't think it was that.
I didn't think it was that pertinent. Go win one more title.
I thought it was a little pertinent. I didn't think it was that pertinent. I mean, of course. Are you kidding me? Like, yes, of course you would take LeBron James over Michael Porter Jr. What are we talking about?
I might text somebody in the front office and be like, hey, would you guys trade Michael Porter Jr. for LeBron and see what their response is?
Here's one thing I will say. There's a chance. I mean, we'll see what happens in Brooklyn, but there's a chance that ends prematurely as well. There's a chance the Lakers end prematurely. And imagine the players that become available if that is the Lakers do say we have to reset and Brooklyn says we have to reset. That's a lot of players that suddenly become available and can completely change the landscape of the NBA. And I don't think it's completely out of the question. Now, do I think that means MPJ, and Picks is going to get a deal done for one of these guys? Probably not. I mean, still like whatever, but it can change the complexion. Like we start to look forward to next year, you have Murray back, you have MPJ back. Who's there to compete against? There's a real chance that there's a team out there that we're not counting on that actually is like a juggernaut next year.
Well, I'll tell you, I already have a team. I think it's the Clippers.
Well, that's because they already have the pieces in place. But I'm saying, like, what if the Portland Trailblazers next year are Damian Lillard, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant or something? That's what I'm saying is, like, there is, when chaos happens, like some team takes advantage of it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, did not see that thing happening.
Igor says, I would not want LeBron James and the Nuggets, even if it was for free. It would taint everything the Nuggets have built, in my opinion. I want to win with these guys. I know you do, Igor. Unfortunately for you, the front office wants to keep their jobs. And if the best way for you to keep your job is to get LeBron James and win a championship, that's like 3 more years of a 7-figure salary. So that's how
Here's
that
the
goes.
thing. Here's the thing, though. There's two. I want to entertain this idea because I think I'm with Igor here in that LeBron teams are not fun.
That's true.
One of my good friends is Ryan Morton from Cleveland. You know, he was a Cavs writer for a long time. He mostly just did social media, but really funny guy. And he always talks about that championship year was miserable, but they won the title and it was worth it. But it was like not fun. The entire season was not fun.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I think Igor's onto something that winning a title would be cool, but if the whole thing was just annoying, just constantly annoying, and then at the end of it, there's this pot of gold, like there would be something very unsatisfying here. But the flip side of that, and I'm totally doing the couples always talk themselves in that it could work for them, but it might work for us. No, the one thing here is that you have a Jamal Murray, you have a Nikola Jokic in place, and you have a team that is over, in my opinion, the Nuggets are over the hump in that they are respected, maybe not as obviously as a champion because they're not, but they're a team that I think people understand. Like there's a lot of pieces here. I don't think those pieces move. And LeBron joining a team like this is different than creating a team like the Cavs or creating a team like the Lakers. It would be more, or even creating a team like Miami. It would be more akin to me of something we just haven't seen with him, which would be joining an already established team with an already established identity. I think it would be at least a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree. It was I just wanted to throw that in there because it's fun. I just think it's fun.
It is fun. Hey, if LeBron really just wanted to get to 6, if it was like he threw everything else out, tell me there isn't a better situation if he was able to come to Denver and join what they already have -1 Michael Porter and draft picks.
Could live in Vail. That's nice.
He flies in every day.
I could see it. I could see it. He'd miss games when the snow's bad, and that'd be fine. That's all right. LeBron James, DNP, snow.
Yeah.
That's just would be a thing. Last thing before we get out of here, Chris Paul going to miss an indeterminate 6 to 8
I'm so glad you brought this up.
With an avulsion in his hand. I forget if it's right or his left. So I don't think that this fundamentally alters the Suns. I think he'll be back. It's going to be real tight. They may have to get through a first-round series without him. But
do you have a hammer? I'm sorry. Am I supposed to be? Are you about to make a real serious point with a hammer?
What?
Randomly have a hammer in your hand for this? Okay, go on.
Everyone was mad that I got rid of the Nuggets print, and this is like the pickaxe. See?
There it is.
Like that. And so, but I do think it's a reminder that the Suns are the best team in the NBA, and the Suns have been dominant, and the Suns deserve all the respect in the world. And I do think that ultimately is a reminder, though, that things are fragile, and Chris has got a lot of miles on him. And so I am still not at a point where I can say that the NBA finals or the NBA conference finals feel determinate. I think that everything is still going to be based on matchups. It's going to be based on seeding. All of this is what's going to matter.
The one comment on that is they are 7 games up in the loss column on Golden State and 9 games up on Memphis Grizzlies. So, by the way, Memphis might be the 2 seed. We've kind of penciled them in for the 3. I'm starting to think maybe they're the 2. But I think that the Suns have a big enough cushion that they probably looked at this and said, I mean, Chris Paul played in the All-Star game. He played actual minutes. I'm guessing that this was more of a let's take care of this now because we're so far ahead of the curve that we can handle it. But nonetheless, your point remains. I'm very curious to see what Phoenix looks like. I think Chris Paul is easily their best player, so I would not be surprised if they look somewhat average over these next 6 weeks or however long he's gone.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Memphis just keeps kind of thriving. I don't know. I'm like the one person, as I sit with a Grizzlies poster behind me, I'm like the one person that is not – I've been arguing on my podcast Buckets, the betting podcast I do with Raheem Palmer. Raheem's all in on the Grizzlies, and Raheem's he's very sharp. He's all in on the Grizzlies. He thinks legitimately they have a chance of winning the Western Conference. And I just their half court numbers still are really concerning to me. This team struggles whenever they get into a grinded out possession by possession game. And they're going to have to show me that they can do that. And they remind me a lot of that 2011 Thunder team. That's the team I keep thinking of. So
they could,
although we did all agree. Go ahead.
It's possible. I'm more just talking about they have like the 5th or 6th easiest schedule. I know it doesn't matter that much, but they have an easy schedule to finish the year. Golden State still doesn't have Draymond Green back. I just think they might be the 2 seed. Like this whole time we've been picturing them as the 3, and I think they might actually be the 2 seed when it's all said and done, which is kind of wild. And it means Golden State would be the 3 seed, which means that's a really tough first round matchup if you're the 6 seed where the Nuggets are right now. So just something to kind of keep in mind that you might get a fully actualized Golden State Warriors team as your 3 seed out west.
The chat really enjoyed the hammer.
They loved it, man.
The chat really enjoyed the hammer. So, yeah, this is what you're missing if you're not on the YouTube channel. You're missing the hammer. Gotta get on YouTube. All right, we are gonna get out of here. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Great crowd on this Monday night. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, getting you through the All-Star week before the games resume later this week. Adam, I want to go ahead and start here. I want to leave everybody with a take because, as you remember, I've been on a little bit of a hot streak with predicting how the Nuggets were going to go game by game. I've been doing pretty well on this little streak. It was really funny because today we were talking on Buckets on that podcast. Brandon Anderson, my guy over there, was like, look at their opening schedule. Like, the first 6 games, which you have mentioned, like, this is like a very winnable stretch. He's like, they play Sacramento twice out of the bat, and then they play yada, yada, yada. And I immediately said, Brandon, let me stop you right there. Let me guarantee you that they are splitting 1-1 with the Sacramento Kings. Like, let's just go ahead and get that out the way. They're absolutely going 1-1 with the Kings.
We'll see. I'm a little optimistic on the Nuggets right now. I'm a little optimistic. I'm so curious to see what happens. This week will be interesting. I think that come Wednesday when the Nuggets have practice, we're going to get an update on DeMarcus Cousins. We're going to get an update on Jamal Murray. I think that you're just going to see guys in new spirits and maybe, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon. I talked about this today earlier on the DNVR podcast, but Zeke Naji is shooting 50% from 3 in his career at home, 40% on the road. Bones Highland is shooting 6% better from 3 at home than on the road this season. Like, the Nuggets have 15 home games remaining, 9 road games. I'm just optimistic on the Nuggets. I think they're going to look like the best version of themselves down this home stretch.
It makes me so nervous whenever we're in the spot.
I know it is true. Like, everything was really
nervous for them whenever you and I are both like, this is a really, like, things are like, they've really got something. Like, things are. That's when I have now been so inundated with the Nug life that I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. This is the scene in McBain where he's like, I just hit retirement. I got a new boat called the No Worries. I'm going to live my days in happiness and peace. Yeah, that's where we are.
All right, let's get wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us those 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews. Thanks so much for everybody. We will be back tomorrow. We'll talk rotations. We'll talk about getting the schedule set. How the Nuggets can get off to that good start that Adam wants to see after the All-Star break. We'll do that and more tomorrow on another edition of Locked On Nuggets.